Paul and JaCinta Wilson have been married for 22 years. They married straight out of high school, knowing it would be hard on them, but JaCinta was 6 months pregnant at the time they married. So Paul goes straight from the black and gold graduation gown to the navy blue work uniform emblazoned with the logo Carolina Iron and Coal. But a baby is only a minor setback, as both Paul and JaCinta have big dreams, but even greater ambition. Once their son, PJ, is born, and old enough to go to a babysitter, JaCinta takes a job as a bank teller at Greer Federal and Loan. By the time their daughter, Celetha, is born, JaCinta is promoted to branch manager, and Paul becomes self-employed, opening his own electrician business, Wilson Wiring. The money began pouring in like a tsunami. It is then JaCinta and Paul begin associating with a more high class of people than their neighbors in Kendrick Apartments. They traded in their old Honda Accord and Nissan Pathfinder in for a white Lexus and a Tesla truck. They no longer parked in their section's parking lot, instead locking their cars and leaving them in the parking lot of the upper-class development of Capucine Acres, meaning a 10-minute walk. They no longer attended the neighborhood block parties, opting instead to go to dinners and lunches with their newfound wealthy friends. Soon the Wilson purchase a new split level in Hyannis Landing, where they host their housewarming party. They invite a few friends from the old neighborhood just to gloat, but soon the couple, who viewed their old neighbors as embarrassing, and soon decide to cut ties with the old and loyal friends they had, and to rub shoulders with the high-maintenance new acquaintances, especially Richard Sims, who Paul befriends and soon hires Richard and the law firm he works for to handle all his business accounts. And he handles them all right, so much so that he blows all of Paul and JaCinta's hard-earned savings, forcing them into foreclosure, bankruptcy, and back to the urban life they fought so hard to rise above.
Paul Wilson. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. It has been 2 weeks since I heard from my business lawyer, Richard Sims. I don't know what's up with him, but a few of my company accounts numbers were not adding up, and he is the only one who can straighten this mess out. Well, I am good for another month, but I have a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, especially since neither Richard or his wife Allison have been MIA suddenly. However, I wasn't too worried. They always went on vacation at the drop of a hat, but I never knew them to stay more than a week. But their kids didn't seem to be too worried. After all, they could have the house to themselves, and have it one beer and a light switch away from an orgy. JaCinta has gone into town to meet her cousins/BFF Sanji and Sharon to join their friend, Aaron, for lunch at Tropical Grill to celebrate Aaron's birthday, since neither JaCinta, Sanji, or Sharon dared to drive to Aaron's place in Kendrick Apartments. Ironic, we all used to live there, but when we came up, we came out, vowing to never go back. First JaCinta and I moved up and out. After my business expanded and thrived, I then hired Sanji as my bookkeeper, whereas Sharon was now JaCinta's administrative assistant, both being paid enough to rival their husbands' take-home pay. As for our kids, P.J. and Celetha adapted to Hyannis Landing with ease. P.J. has the type of personality that he can and does make friends easily, but although we got him out of Kendrick Apartments, we couldn't get Kendrick Apartments out of him. Sure, he has friends here, but he has a bond with the friends there for nearly 16 of his 17 years. Truth be told, Kendrick was only a stepping stone to the lifestyle we work to afford. We work hard, so we can play hard. P.J. has always understood this, as he knows he is the heir to the throne. Although I left Celetha a good sum of money, I am here now, and she can ask me for anything and she can have it, because I never want her to ask a man other than me or P.J. for money. If she plays her cards right, she will have enough money to last a lifetime. However, she doesn't know this, because Celetha would brag about it and would fall for the old okey doke. And boom, there goes my hard-earned money. Celetha doesn't really remember living in Kendrick Apartments, except when she was 3. My Aunt Shirley's pet bunny rabbit Boot bit her on her left foot big toe. She had to go through a battery of tests, but came back negative. For JaCinta, this was the last straw, especially after the rabbit got loose, and I guess it felt safe enough and smart enough to make it across Highway 29. It didn't make it, but Aunt Shirley blamed Celetha for having jelly donut all over her hands, and after being bitten, Celetha bolted from next door into our then apartment. After we took her to the hospital, Celetha cried herself to sleep in the back seat, with her little head on her big brother's shoulder. My life is so very blessed and I intend to keep it that way, but as I said, Richard needs to get back from West Hell or wherever he has gone. If not, I am gonna have to cash in the insurance I have. Also, since PJ is going to the Air Force, which costs me nothing, but if Richard doesn't hurry back, I am gonna have just barely enough to carry my 6 employees for the next 6 months. I will have to pay them from Celetha's college fund, but if her grades don't shape up, all she will get is what she has worked for, which is nothing. She is spoiled rotten and is forever thinking of ways to milk my wallet, but I know it's my fault. I could never say no to my baby girl, and this has been true since the day she was born. She was her mom's spitting image, but Celetha was even more beautiful, because I know I made that masterpiece. But sometimes I have to turn my head to keep from laughing at some of the one-sided conversations she is having with either her friends or some male version of her, more bougie. Then thou, truth be told, I don't know how she became so uppity, when she is just one generation out of the projects her damn self. Many people claim she gets it from her mom and me, talking about how we changed on them when we got ourselves on a higher manner of living our best lives. Hell, they are damn right we changed, and I don't regret it one bit. I mean, there are people living in not only Kendrick Apartments, but Drummond, Northgate, and Oakland who could have been out also, but for the life of me, I think they only stayed after they came up a bit by additional income via a child or adult living in the home and working. They brought in innate furnishings, electronics that only they could afford, just to stunt and get shouts and whispers at the beautiful furniture going into the apartment. Silly clown-ass shit. Thank God Richard co-signed for the house we are in now. In fact, it was his former home, but he was moving to Conyers, Georgia, for a year to study for City Magistrate Judge of Greer. We have been looking at a bigger house than the one we have now, and PJ can have this house, while JaCinta, Celetha and myself can take a ride out in the country looking at houses for sale. So yeah, we've changed. We've changed our address, our phone numbers, and our bank account, our whole damn lifestyle, and if anyone is waiting for an apology, then get in line. You'll be standing for a long time.
JaCinta. A day with the girls. I was so glad to have a day with my girls Sanji, Sharon and Erin. I am treating Erin to lunch at Tropical Grill for her birthday. She hits the big 45 today, and for 6 kids and a grandbaby on the way, she never got a chance to get out much. She and her husband, Raleigh, have been together for more than 20 years. But the thing is, although they are married, she lied to Housing Authority. She told them she didn't know where either of her kids' daddies were, knowing full damn well she married Raleigh McCoy September 12, 2000. True, she was already living in Kendrick Apartments when she met him. In fact, she still lived in the same apartment that she grew up in. She was raised by her grandma Sherry, who died when we were 18 years old, leaving everything to Erin, and since Housing Authority had such a huge amount of respect for Grandma Sherry, she was the property manager, and trust, she did one hell of a job. Actually, it's to her credit that Paul and I got the apartment we once lived in. Looking back now, I don't think it was anything to be too thankful for, because although we had no money at the time, I longed to move out of our 3-bedroom apartment. I had never lived anywhere except in Sunnydale, the house I was raised in, and where my parents still live. Kendrick Apartments were nice, but I didn't want nice. I wanted quality, and so did Paul. We worked our asses off to get to where we are now, and hell will freeze over, and the devil will give free sleigh rides before I move back there. I never understood why Erin didn't move when her grandma left her over $40,000. Instead, she paid straight out for a new Honda Passport and a Mercedes-Benz, which the kids were not allowed to ride in. The Honda was the car they carpooled the kids in. When she met Raleigh, he was living on a beautiful piece of land with a lake in the backyard. We called it the cabin. It was old, but it was beautiful and well furnished. When Erin told us they were getting married, Sanji, Sharon, and myself got together to throw her a bachelorette/going away party. A surprise party. But the surprise was on us. After Erin showed up, we were having a great time. She got so many gifts we had to use our neighbor Mr. Malachi's hand trucks to take them to both her cars, but she dropped a damn bomb and told us that Raleigh would be moving in with her instead of her and the kids moving in with him. But he had let his lease run out, so instead of her moving on up like the Jeffersons, she was gonna still be scratching and surviving, hanging in a chow line like good times. I was so damn mad. But Sharon was even more upset at Erin. She took her gift back. I was low-key jealous that she had a chance to get her ass out of here. But instead, she decided to stunt on the neighbors, and many were envious of the new furniture and appliances she had put into her apartment. But the shit was funny to me, because I saw Rent-A-Center deliver that load, and I also knew that she would soon be out of money, until the first of the month when her check would kick in. I mean, she kept her bills paid, and both she and Raleigh kept their kids clean and mannerable. Her oldest son, Seiko, joined the army, got married, had a child, and decided other than visiting his parents and siblings, to hell with Kendrick Apartments and Greer, South Carolina for that matter. He moved his family to Rock Hill, and I don't blame him one, but at least he invites them to stay the week or weekend with him and his family. Of course, his siblings jumps on the invitation each time, and always came back bragging about the fun they had. However, Erin and Raleigh have only gone once, and that was to pick up their oldest daughter, Teresa. Erin resents the fact Seiko got married and moved away after he got out of the army, but he decided to make a career of it, and Erin blames Seiko's wife Kelly for the decision. But I know that boy wanted to get out of the cramped apartment, and of having to hide daddy's belongings every inspection. Erin just hated the fact since Seiko graduated, her check would be cut down. My opinion is Erin and Raleigh both enjoyed eating off the government biscuit assistance with electric bill, rent and water bill, while she has an able-bodied man who claims to now be on disability, so he gets a check too. Of course, it's mailed to another address. I must say, for some lazy asses, Erin and Raleigh knew how to work the system like a 9-to-5 job.